Okay, let's lay some ground rules. This video is my opinion, okay? Any views I express are purely my own, and you're just as much entitled to think that the movie was perfect as you are to think it was awful. I will merely be expressing my positives and a few critiques from the perspective of a Spider-Man fan. Nothing more, nothing less, okay? Okay, let's do this one last time. Yeah, I'm pretty late to Across the Spider-Verse. All your favorite YouTubers have said their piece, the memes have already been created, yet even so, you clicked on this video, huh? But if for some reason you haven't seen the movie yet, please do. It's best watched unspoiled, which is thankfully what I was able to do, and it made the experience so much better. This is also your spoiler warning, so you might want to get out now, okay? This video is going to be in 3 sections. Everything I liked about the movie, my few critiques with the movie, and finally a super special bonus round for anyone who sticks around to the end. Has that got you super excited? I sure hope. Firstly, I've got to say, if this movie does one thing better than its predecessor, then that is the visuals. This movie looks stunning from start to finish, and is not only fluid but also expressive and takes on completely different styles at times. It's great we get to see a LEGO Spider-Man universe, or a 2D universe, or even real-life Donald Glover, what the heck. Surprisingly though, it doesn't look too odd, and really caught me off guard when I first saw him in the movie. But it was a great surprise. I wonder if this means anything at all in Tom Holland's universe. I mean, if he's ended up here, what did Donald Glover do to become an anomaly? Anyway, I digress. So, yes, in the visual department, this movie slaps. And at first, I wasn't too sure on Miles' new design. It's been over a year in universe since the first movie, and I was worried his older new suit would throw me off. But if anything, it did the opposite, and it made me connect to him more because just like how I've grown and matured since 2018, so has Miles. Or at least, I hope I have. Another thing I loved about this movie was the soundtrack, but I have to say the first soundtrack just ekes it out for me. Daniel Pemberton did an amazing job on the score, and suddenly I've started seeing him everywhere, like he did some tracks in The Boys as well, are you serious? But yeah, this soundtrack is very solid, I would say, with 2 particular highlights, Miles' theme and Miguel's theme. I'm going to quickly steal a point from an old Into the Spider-Verse video called The Sound of the Spider-Verse. Now, Miles has a motif, a small string of notes that for him, throughout the movie, show him becoming Spider-Man. It's not Miles' theme, it's Spider-Man's theme. So, when I heard this motif included in Miles' theme, I was very pleased to say the least. One really interesting thing is the times we hear the theme in the movie. One time is when Miles jumps in to disrupt a canon event. Now, we later understand that disrupting canon events can destroy the universe they happened in, but Miles jumps in to save the people anyway. Why? Because he's Spider-Man. And in this moment, Spider-Man's motif plays, telling us this action is one of a true Spider-Man, even if it goes against a canon event. And whether or not this suggests something about Miguel's theories and understanding, I'm not too sure, but we'll have to wait and see for Beyond the Spider-Verse. My third massive positive is the attention to detail in this movie, but hold up, this has got its own entire section at the end of the video with all the Easter eggs I noticed, so let's go on to another positive. The voice actors in this movie absolutely nail it. Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy gives a great performance, and I personally prefer her here than in any of the other Marvel stuff she's done, like the Hawkeye series. Shameik Moore slaps it out the park with Miles Morales. His performance is full of youth, but also shows a clear sense of maturity since we last met him. He's smarter, more confident, but still has that youthful charm and humour. Oscar Isaac is great as always, and he's playing Miguel O'Hara here. He provides just enough menace to feel like an antagonist, and if I'm honest, I'm not sure where he stands on the fence of good and evil. Finally, while his role is smaller here than Into the Spider-Verse, Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker is probably my highlight of the movie. I just love his casual approach to the whole thing, and I don't think anyone else could pull off this type of Peter Parker. It's a blend of comedy and relaxation, but when he needs to, he delivers those emotional scenes as well. Okay, so hopefully I've made it clear that I enjoyed the movie. I truly did, but even so, I still have a few criticisms. To me, it's very clear that this movie is a part 1 of 2. Now, what I mean by that is that the first 90 minutes of the movie are amazing, and then I feel like the last 40 minutes are going to lead into an Act 3 that never comes. Obviously, this is going to be Beyond the Spider-Verse, but I'm not sure how well it sticks to landing here. If we watch both movies back to back and it comes out as one big long masterpiece, then yeah, that's great, but that's not how they did it. They chose to do 2 separate movies that happen to be linked by the to be continued, and in my opinion, that leaves the end of the plot feeling a little half-baked. Like a lot of people, I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see the conclusion of the Spot storyline. I absolutely love the implications of his character. Is he inside Miles' head, did they merge together, or is he just messing with his mind? Either way, his character has been set up to be this insanely powerful villain that I can't wait to see Spider-Man take on. I just wish he didn't disappear halfway through the movie. Like, yeah, we get flashes of him in Miles' mind, but he doesn't really make a proper return, and to me that feels so weird. I'm sure once Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, it will give a worthwhile conclusion to his arc, but personally, I feel a movie, even if it is a two-parter, should be able to stand on its own as a great movie. While Across the Spider-Verse has aspects that make it a brilliant movie, I could never call it a complete movie, purely because stuff didn't get resolved that I think should have. Secondly, there is sort of a lack of Miles Morales' story arc in this movie. The whole time he's been struggling to tell his parents he's Spider-Man, and of course, we get to see him decide between saving his dad and the universe. Well, kind of. He doesn't actually do it because the movie ends on a cliffhanger. But because of this cliffhanger, Miles' arc gets no real conclusion. He admits he's Spider-Man to his mum, but it turns out she's his mum from another dimension, a dimension where Spider-Man doesn't even exist. And without this acceptance to Miles being Spider-Man, his arc never gets resolved. In fact, his arc is where it was at the start of the movie, only now with more fear and pressure over his dad potentially dying. Like I say, I'll be eating my words once the sequel comes out, but I am personally of the belief that a movie in two parts should still have a complete story with proper character arcs. Think Infinity War and Endgame, for example. Two sides of the same coin, but both are stories that work as fully fledged stories in their own right. I'll tell you who does get her own arc in this movie, and that's Gwen. Her arc is really nice actually, with her dad accepting her as Spider-Woman, grappling between his job and oath to the police, or his daughter, and eventually quitting his job and choosing her. What's even more interesting is that he is no longer a captain of the police force, which we are told is a canon event by Miguel. Will Gwen's dad die now in the next movie, or will his survival prove the incorrectness of canon events in the first place? That's basically every critique I had. See, that wasn't so bad. Now, onto my favourite bit, every Easter egg I noticed upon first viewing. I'm sure there's more, but this is what I personally noticed while watching, without watching any deep dives or anything. In the beginning of the movie, Gwen thinks about music and her band to get her to relax in the fight, just like Miles does at Alchemax in the first movie. In the prequel, when Miles gets his powers, he fumbles around outside his dorm building and gets hit with a flock of pigeons. In this movie, he waits just before turning the corner to his dorm room, knowing the pigeons will be there. In Across the Spider-Verse, Jeff is nervous to jump into one of the Spot's portals and takes the stairs down instead, just like how Miles was too scared to jump off the building in the original. When Spot goes to the Venom dimension, the gum he picks up is called Venomint, and that's pretty funny. When Miles gets to his dad's celebration party, his Spidey sense goes off, detecting his parents' anger at his lateness, which is hilarious. This is sort of a question, but is the reason Spot can create dimensional holes because a bagel has a hole in it? I love how Miles uses the Venom absorption power just like he does in Miles Morales PS4. This very well also might be from the comics. Sorry, I don't read a lot of the comics. I love the British slang Hobie uses in this movie. Never thought I'd hear Mandem or Scooby-Doo in a Spider-Man movie. That's just so cool. Now everyone knows this one, but seeing Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, even in flashbacks, is awesome. As well as a spectacular Spider-Man. Damn, the cameos in this movie are insane. In the intervention scene, Miles escapes the orange prison using the absorption, but this time it works because he takes Hobie's advice to use the palms of his hand instead of the fingertips. What I love even more is that you can see Hobie motioning for him to do it just beforehand. And lastly, as we see Miles running through Earth 42, which looks stunning by the way, we hear Miguel saying, "How to tell me, Spider-Man!" Yet as this happens, Miles bursts through some glass of a building, as if breaking the line in half. This could symbolise Miles ignoring this line and being Spider-Man anyway, or even could reference the broken glass from that iconic scene in the first movie where he truly becomes Spider-Man. That's pretty much everything cool I noticed from watching the movie. Like I said, I absolutely loved it. I'd probably give it an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10, and depending on Beyond the Spider-Verse, that score could even rise. Like I said, I think this movie will definitely benefit from a back-to-back watching of them both, but either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't take it too seriously, but I hope you found it interesting or fun. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this brief intermission in your life. Until next time, have a good one.